I don't have a witty intro. This intro sucks. One of these days we'll clean that coffee stain, but not today. Anyways, it's another one of these gimmick table things. On an actual table. Actually, it's more of a desk. And it's actually somewhat of a follow-up to a prior video of this ilk that was done last year. Well, technically not last year, but a year or so ago. Which involved this little piece of business. The ATGames Blast HDMI dongle gimmick, where you plug this into your HDMI slot, you plug a separate wire to your thing, and you got games built into the stick that you could play on your TV, in theory. This one in particular was the NAMCO set, which was a rather infamous one because it had arcade screenshots on the box, and inside the device was NES ROMs. And it was a very piece of controversy, I suppose. Anyways, the only controversy I had is I could barely get the thing to work. It would either give me flashy images or no sound or whatever the case may be. And I tried it on my TV, tried it on my Switch thing. Would not work. But I figured I'd give it another shot because, you know, this past Christmas I got myself a ATGames Live Gamer Ultra recording device, gimmick capture device thing. And we're going to give this a shot. Well, we're not going to plug it in there because we're going to plug it into that switch box. And yes, it's a bit of a mess, reorganizing and all that stuff. So we're going to give this a shot, one more shot. And yes, for the folks wondering if I still had this around, well, there's your answer. 2020, I'm playing with this thing again. Long after a great majority of these have ended up in the bargain bins for about $2 a pop. $2 Canadian, mind you. So I can only imagine how much they're pricing these in the States, but that's neither here nor now. Anyways, I got some footage for you, so let's get to it, I suppose. Before we dive into round 2, or whatever you want to call this second attempt, let's revisit the first time, where I had this set up with the Hawkpog PVR, which I plugged the stick directly into, and that gave me picture but no sound. Then I tried plugging this stick directly into my television and I got sound, but I also got a blinking picture. Wanted to try and plug this directly into my computer monitor, but unfortunately the awkward shape of the stick didn't jive with the HDMI slots on the back. And as such, having run out of options, I accepted defeat and set this aside so that someday I'd get around to giving this another shot if I ever got any new hardware with HDMI slots. Cut to the final days of 2019, and with some Christmas money as well as timely specials due to the whole Boxing Week gimmick, I was able to snag an ATGames Live Gamer Ultra capture gimmick for the purposes of recording some Nintendo Switch footage. But then I remembered this stick thing, and figured, might as well give it a shot. So as before, I plugged this directly into the Live Gamer gimmick with an assist from an extension module due to the awkward shape of the stick not quite fitting onto the device properly, and on TV it looked to be working fine, and I stupidly did not capture footage of this event, sorry about that. However, when it came to the capturing of the footage, this was what I got initially. So we got some sound skipping, image distortion, that sort of thing. I figured bad connection, it's happened a couple times. But by the time I got to Dig Dug, everything seemed to be recording just fine. Until it eventually didn't, as the picture went out on both the recording and also on my TV, first blinking in and out of existence like the first time, before eventually dying out. Which meant that I wasn't able to play the remaining games, and quite honestly, this was the last straw as far as the ATGames Blast gimmick was concerned.
Now, to be perfectly fair, it's entirely possible I was given a bad hand and I have a defective unit because there have been other folks who have done videos on this thing, and those guys seem to have functional units in terms of getting the things to work, not so much the actual content contained within, but that's another story. But I've tried other trouble systems with this AverMedia thing, such as a cheap Retron system I had laying around, as well as this even cheaper AV composite to HDMI converter, two devices that didn't quite function well with the old Hogpog, and those worked perfectly fine here, even if the converter looked like shit. So maybe I'm not a dongle guy and I should just stick with the slightly bigger stuff because they work better. And yeah, that's all I got. Back to the live shot, I suppose.
And that was my second take with the ATGames Blast, NAMCO, Bandai, whatever it's called. And it worked for a while, and then it crapped out. And now this thing's brand new. I don't want to risk wrecking it only a couple days after the fact, so yeah. I had the box stored away elsewhere, so what we're going to do here is we're going to put the cap back on here, like so. We'll do this one-handed. I'm going to attempt to pry the batteries out with my fingernail and fail miserably, so I have to use a screwdriver. The batteries are the most important piece of business I want to keep. Jesus fuck. But got it out. So I'm gonna do that. Do that. Set that aside. We'll put the little baggie. Forget the awkward. Okay, I'm gonna slip this in. Try to slip this in like so. Try not to lose the batteries. Try to keep it in shot so that the people could see it. I'll slip that in there. Plop that in there, and yeah, perfect place for it. And now we got a spare HDMI cable there. We could put something worthwhile, like the Legends Flashback from ATGames.